Okay. After years of frustration in Detroit, will Matthew Stafford see the light of day as he leads his team to a Super Bowl win? Will Joe Burrow be the first quarterback in history to win a Heisman Trophy, a national championship, and a Super Bowl title? And will the Super Bowl commercials be at least half entertaining, unlike they've been for the last 10 years? Well, we're going to try to answer those questions and many more as we preview the big game. Super Bowl 56 is coming up in just a mere matter of days, and we're here to cover it all from top to bottom here on Fantasy Football Fever, starting right now.
15 seconds to air. Stand by all cameras.
Ready with slow motion and isolated cameras.
Stand by videotape and roll tape.
And tape is rolling in less than 5, in 3, 2, 1.
Take tape.
Hey, what's good, everybody? It's time once again for Fantasy Football Fever, and it's time for one of the biggest shows of the year. Super Bowl 56 is coming up at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. We got the Cincinnati Bengals, we got the Los Angeles Rams, and we got a whole bunch to talk about other than just the Super Bowl. And I've got the right guys here to help me cover it all. First of all, Mr. John Flynn, how you doing, buddy?
What's going on, Tim? How are we doing?
Oh, we're doing great. Are you about as fired up as I am?
Yes, it's going to be I think it's going to be a terrific Super Bowl, and it's among the last 15 Super Bowls that I picked. This one's been the hardest of them all to pick. So we can't wait for you guys to wait to the end of this podcast for us to unveil our picks.
Right. And we have our very trusted league commissioner, Mr. John Natale. How you doing, sir?
Great. Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting Super Bowl. Yeah, nobody from day one ever expected the Bengals to even make the playoffs.
Yeah,
and I got my Super Bowl foods in the freezer ready to go.
Hey, you're already prepared for your party.
Mm-hmm.
And also joining us right now, our good friend, Mr. Nick Dennison. And I think we see where he's going to be enjoying his Super Bowl on that very large screen. Hey, Nick, how big is that screen anyway?
Oh, it's very big. Very big. It's very big.
I'd probably say more than a 50-inch or 60-inch.
Oh, something like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it's going to make that Super Bowl look pretty good there. Well, anyway, we have got a lot to cover, so why don't we just go ahead and get into our hot topics today. And we're going to start with some head coach and general manager hires that have been going on since the last time we talked about 2 weeks ago. Flynn, a whole lot of movement, and it looks like every single head coaching position is now filled.
Yes, indeed. And when we last left you 2 weeks ago, we had 9 head coaching vacancies, in which 2 were already filled, and the rest of the 9 head vacancies haven't filled. And the day after they left, the New York Football Giants announced they hired Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll to be the next head coach, and I love the hire. I think among the 9 hires, I think this one was the best of them all. Because the Daboll's going to bring so much to the table when you look at how he developed Josh Allen. When you think about him being a leader of men, when you think of him, the descriptions of the Bills players are all positive, all glowing reviews, and you need an offense. The Giants need to hire an offensive coach. I think Daboll is one of the 2 or 3 best offensive play callers in the NFL, and now Now he'll be the he'll be the man in charge, and I think the best part about this is I think that and the town has been following the news with the Giants head coaching hire, or with the assistant hires, that they've been fantastic so far.
And don't forget the defensive coordinator they just hired recently.
Not
the game show host, Don Wink Martindale. No relation to the game show host.
And Don Martindale is the new defensive coordinator for the Giants after spending a decade with the Ravens, and his defenses have been off the charts when healthy. So it's going to be fascinating to see the personnel changes that the Giants make. So whether it's cutting James Bradbury to recover from the salary cap, the situation that Dave Gettleman put the team in for many years, and all sorts of different things. And Mike Kafka comes in as the offensive coordinator, the former Philadelphia Eagle draft pick. So he saw the development and growth of Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. So you get a Bills offensive coach, you get a Chiefs offensive coach, a Ravens defensive coach, all in the same building, and that's quite an encouraging sign for the New York Football Giants going forward. And so that's number one. Number two is the Minnesota Vikings will be hiring LA Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell as their new head coach, and O'Connell will officially accept the job after his LA Rams play in the Super Bowl on Sunday. I think it's a really strong hire for Minnesota. I think that you could have argued Jim Harbaugh was the better choice, because I think the Vikings needed some juice with that defense. But I think Kevin O'Connell, a McVay disciple, we've already seen a McVay disciple make it to the Super Bowl. So I think it's a really strong hire, and for a division that might not have Aaron Rodgers, this is a Vikings team that could be primed to win 10, 11, 12 games next year. So we'll see how that unfolds, and with the Aaron Rodgers situation unfolding this offseason. So we'll see how it goes from there. The Jacksonville Jaguars had quite a turn of events over the last couple of weeks. So they initially had an agreement to hire Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator and former Jags quarterback Byron Leftwich to be the next head coach, but Leftwich backed out at the last minute because of issues with the general manager Trent Baalke. Now, 49ers fans remember Trent Baalke from the middle part of last decade, when he had the infamous feud with Jim Harbaugh, and then he made the hires of Jim Tom Sula and Chip Kelly. So the next possible available way to go was to hire Eagles Super Bowl winning head coach Doug Peterson to be their next head coach, and I think all things considered, I like the hire because I think he's going to be good for Trevor Lawrence, but I think the concerns I have with this is has he learned anything from not having Frank Reich calling plays, because he doesn't seem to be a great in-game manager or a play caller. So we're going to have to see if he can maximize the effort, the talent of Trevor Lawrence, and then the concern will have to be if the Jaguars are going to get better players, and Jacksonville has the number 1 overall pick in the draft this year, so it's going to be fascinating to see where the front office goes with that, and that's going to be where it goes from there. There are other head coaching hires. The Miami Dolphins, they hired San Francisco 49ers offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel as the new man in charge. And listen, you heard Natal, you just heard a reaction from Natal. I think that's a really strong, inspiring hire, because I think more than anything, the Dolphins needed someone to help develop Tua, and Brian Flores, coming from a defensive background, and the feud between ownership and the coaches with the Tua over Herbert debate, and it's always they'll be saddled with that decision as long as as long as they live. So I think it's a really strong hire. It's an inspiring hire, and I think the Dolphins have an excellent chance if Tua's game improves, an excellent chance to make the playoffs in the AFC. So I think that's a really strong hire. And another thing, don't be surprised if his name comes up in Coach of the Year conversations next year. So we'll look at Mike McDaniel. So we have a few more notes. So how about the Las Vegas Raiders announcing they hired New England Patriots offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels to be the next head coach of the Vegas Raiders. And look, I think I have a lot of issues with this, Tim. I don't think he's that inspiring leader of men, and we've seen commitment issues with McDaniels, and obviously he has the disaster in Denver in 2009 and 2010, and then he bolted. He initially accepted the Colts head coaching job in 2018, but then he rejected it and then went back to New England as their offensive coordinator there. So we're going to see about that. And then the Raiders, they're in a division where they're going to have to face Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert when healthy twice a year. And if the Broncos get Aaron Rodgers in a trade, him as well. So I'm not a particular fan of the Josh McDaniels hire, if you are a fan of the Raiders. By the way, they also hired a Patriots de facto GM, Dave Ziegler, to be the general manager. So there is the continuity between Ziegler and McDaniels, who both work together with the Patriots. So it's gonna be fascinating there. So then. We have a couple more to talk about. The Houston Texans, they hired defensive coordinator Lovie Smith to be their next head coach. And look, if Lovie Smith is the answer, I'd love to know the question. Because this is more of an indictment on the Houston Texans organization, and look, I've been on the Texans case for years, and as a dysfunctional mess, and now Nick Caserio is putting his ego into the decision making, which doesn't particularly bode well if you are a fan of the Houston Texans, and Lovie Smith was, I believe he was 17-39 in his 5 years coaching at the University of Illinois. And now he goes back to the NFL because the Texans needed somebody to run the defense, and then David Coley got fired. Maybe you could say maybe a different opinion could have been accepted here with that, but Lovie Smith is the hire, and I don't know if he's going to be a one-time deal with the Texans. And then finally, I think this is such an underrated hire. This hire is getting blasted by the media, and wrongfully so. The New Orleans Saints hired defensive coordinator Dennis Allen to be the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints. And look, I could see why the media is giving this hire negative reviews, but if the culture is there, and I think it's time to embrace that culture. And Dennis Allen does have head coaching experience. He does have, and he did coach the Saints about a couple months ago, the week Sean Payton tested positive for COVID. Dennis Allen ran the team, and they shut out Tampa on the road 9-0. So I think this is an inspiring hire for the New Orleans Saints, and we'll have to see how that pans out with the quarterback situation and the salary cap hell that the team has undergone has been through. So I think he's going to be a strong hire, and I think he was the only option. Now, if there was any outside option, it would have been Eric Bieniemy, the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. But Bieniemy's stock as a head coach took a huge nosedive with the Chiefs' poor second half performance in the AFC Championship game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Those are all the head coaching hires, and I think Dable and the Dable hire and the Allen hire I think are the two best.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with the G-man right there with the hiring of Dayball and Natalie. I know you're a big Giants fan. I'm sure you're pretty excited about the Dayball hire.
Yeah, slightly off topic, but I'm pretty sure Flynn heard this. Joe Judge has a new job now.
I think he is the Patriots' assistant offensive coach. Yeah. I think we need to think that Joe Judge wasn't ready to be a head coach.
Yeah.
And you think about the Giants had Matt Rule ready, but Matt Rule said no because of Dave Gettleman. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you never should have hired Dave Gettleman in the first place. Never should have been interviewed in the first place. And
I'm glad he's finally done.
But hey, listen, Joe Shane was my top choice for the general manager, and Brian Dable was my top choice to be the general manager before all the interviews began. So, the last 4 years forced John Mara to pop the factual bubble that he'd been living in, and Steve Tisch coming through, saying the Giants needed a coaching change, and Mara wanted to keep Judge, and Mara also wanted Flores as the head coach, and then Joe Shane beat him out and said he wants Dable. Dable's the best guy for the job, and guess what? Brian Dable's new head coach, and he's putting together a kick-ass staff.
Mm-hmm. Now let's got to see how they do in the draft. Now that's got to be smart.
Yeah, remember the Giants have 2 first-round picks. I think they have 2 third-round picks and 2 fourth-round picks. Yeah. So they have a lot of draft capital. But how about Joe Shane said in his comments a couple days ago that he wants as many at bats as possible. So I would fully expect the Giants to trade down from either 5 or 7. But the Giants are in an excellent position to win the draft. They are in an excellent position.
I think they're favored to take a lineman in their first pick, I'm guessing.
Yeah, because I think the safety. I think they're either going to take the safety Kyle Hamilton. I think he would be outstanding. Imagine him and Xavier McKinney patrolling the backfield for years to come. But that would be fantastic. And we're going to get into the secondaries of both Super Bowl participants later on. So, by the way, another note about Doug Peterson and the Jaguars. They're scheduled to play in Philadelphia next year against the Eagles. And remember, Doug Peterson is going to play Carson Wentz twice a year because they're in the same division as the Colts.
Yeah, I'm going to be keeping my eye on that here. Yeah, so all the positions have pretty been filled. One position that could be emptied is, of course, the starting running back for the New Orleans Saints, because as many of you probably heard, you've heard the news, right? I think it was right after the Pro Bowl. Saints running back Alvin Kamara, he's in some deep doo-doo, Flynn.
Yeah, I shared the link.
Yeah, he got arrested for a brutal battery case in Vegas during Pro Bowl weekend, and I think Nick Dennison had the most proper reaction to that. It's a no.
Yeah. Well, my reaction is probably what a lot of people on Monday Night Countdown would say. Just those simple words. Come on, man. Well, I don't know.
Some other player got arrested recently, too. I forgot who he was. Some guy who plays defense for the Raiders.
Oh.
I don't remember his name, though.
That one I think may have kind of slipped me a little bit, but
yeah.
So honest opinion, do the Saints keep him or let him go?
Yeah. I think he might have just played his last down as a Saint. I think he's a goner.
Yeah, I think he'll be lucky if he plays it down next season.
pretty much either for the Saints or any team for that matter.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have a solid. They do have a decent backup, but
I said
We'll see.
the backup is Latavius Murray, is it?
yeah,
Or
he's decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Murray.
it's not exactly. I knew it was something like that, but
Yeah.
Oh, Alvin.
Yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
Andy-
If worst came to worst, they could use Taysom Hill at running back 'cause he's very versatile.
yeah.
Right.
So that'll fire up all the Taysom Hill truthers.
Oh yeah. And just a few moments ago, they announced the names for next year's Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrinement in a very, very interesting list, I must say.
Yes, it is. So there are there are 8 names that are going to be in there. So Bryant Young, Dick Vermeil, the Super Bowl winning head coach for the Rams in '99, Richard Seymour, Patriots legends, Sam Mills, Art McNally, Leroy Butler, Tony Baselli, the first Jacksonville Jaguar ever to make it to the
Oh,
Hall
how
of
about
Fame.
that?
And Cliff Branch, the Raiders receiver from the 70s and 80s. So he's in. So 8 players enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And believe it or not, I think Art McNally is the first official referee ever inducted into the Hall of Fame. So after 60 years since the Hall of Fame was established in '63.
I actually have a couple of other great names of referees who belong in the Hall. One, Red Cashin, and the other would be, Jerry Markbright.
Yeah.
Those are guys that I grew up watching. They were probably 2 of the best officials the NFL ever had at that time. So we got a very interesting Hall of Fame list there. I guess right now, the NFL honors, they're still going on right now, right?
Yeah. There's still going on. Just as we went on the air, Mike Vrabel, the Titans, was announced as the defensive player, the head coach of the year for getting the Titans to the playoffs as the 1 seed without Derrick Henry for much of the season. So I think when Tennessee clinched the 1 seed, he was going to be the coach of the year. But there are a lot of different names that the voters could have considered, with Zach Taylor, Matt LaFleur as coach of the year. So I think it's worth noting here, and some of the honors that have already come out. We have Dan Quinn was the assistant coach of the year.
Hey,
So Cooper Kupp was the offensive player of the year, no surprise there. T.J. Watt, no surprise, was named the defensive player of the year. The offensive rookie of the year is Jamar Chase. Defensive rookie of the year, no surprise as well, with Dallas Cowboys linebacker and defensive end Micah Parsons. Comeback player of the year, Joe Burrow. And then daily fantasy player of the year, Cooper Kupp, and all of that. So we're still waiting on the Walter Payton Man of the Year and the league MVP. But I would have to imagine it's going to be Aaron Rodgers taking home the NFL MVP when it's all said and done on that front.
yeah, I can almost.
This is the one downside about me living in the West. It hasn't aired yet here.
Oh man, well,
Yeah, I hate that because I get the ESPN alerts and there's no point in me watching it.
Yeah.
yeah.
One downside about living in the West Coast, you still get it your local time.
Right, exactly. So
East Coast people
props-
have it easy.
So
people like me
give-
and Tim, they get the notifications already.
yeah, give props to my man Dan Quinn, who turned around a totally pathetic defense in 2020 and just improved that defense in 2021. which I think will make a good stepping stone for 2022 when it happens. So, congratulations to Coach Quinn. I'm glad he decided to stay in Dallas, and Kellen Moore is staying in Dallas, and Mike McCarthy staying in Dallas. So, but I think this year is going to be the do or die year for McCarthy.
I think McCarthy's going to get fired if the Cowboys don't win a playoff game next year. Especially with potentially Sean Payton looming as the next coach of the Cowboys.
Right. And of course, props to Michael Parsons, who was just a total beast in his first year with the Cowboys. I mean, I can see that boy really becoming something within the next couple of years. So, with that all being said, I guess right now let's go ahead and let's get into it. Please excuse my voice. I really have, I really have no idea
You're
what's
good.
wrong with my
I'm just-
voice tonight.
Yeah, I'm
But
just gonna make sure we didn't miss anything here.
yeah, we were just looking over these topics before we went on the air, and we still have so much to cover, including the storylines for Super Bowl 56. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, like Flynn said, nobody thought that these two teams would make it in this year.
Mm-mm.
And we got the Cincinnati Bengals, and you got the Los Angeles Rams. Second year in a row that the home team is playing in the Super Bowl stadium.
Yeah, it's also
Yeah,
the first time in a few years where we didn't have a 1 or a 2 seed. Past several years have been either 1 seed or a 2 seed.
Right.
Both teams are 4 seed.
Yeah, I know Flynn made some notes about how McVay changed everything for the Rams, how the aggressive approach of the Rams GM Les Snead has pretty much paid off. Trade first round picks for Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, traded a second and third pick for Von Miller, and of course they signed Odell Beckham Jr. And how Matthew Stafford has just turned everything around from those 12 years that he was in Detroit. Now on the cusp of winning a world championship for the first time in his career. And I see that Flynn had to step away for a little bit. And and I mean, I cannot say enough about Cooper Kupp. I mean, he rightfully deserved Offensive Player of the Year right there.
Yeah, and I think with what Matthew Stafford brought to the table, I think in order for McVay's offense to be what he intended to be, I think he needed a quarterback like Matthew Stafford because let's face it, if you watch Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford over the last few years, and Jared Goff wasn't particularly accurate with throwing the deep ball, so when Belichick dialed up his brilliant game plan in the Super Bowl 3 years ago, so he didn't have to worry about the deep threat because Jared Goff couldn't throw accurately that far, and Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford formed an incredible tight-knit relationship during training camp, and like they were doing so many different things before practice in the summer, and it paid off right away. And 8 of his first 9 games, he had over, I think he had at least 90 yards receiving, which is tremendous when you think about the new standards that McVay has. And of course McVay is going to have higher standards because of his incredible track record of winning. So Stafford coming in, he of course was the number 1 overall pick, and he was the victim of circumstance when it came to the Lions and him being drafted after the team went 0-16 back in 2008 and he led the team to the only 3 playoff appearances the Lions have had over in the 21st century were because of Matthew Stafford. So that is a significant factor when it comes to this game because if Jared Goff was the quarterback of the Rams, so the Rams are probably would have exited in the first round, and maybe a team like Tampa or a team like the Dallas Cowboys could have made a run to the Super Bowl, but I digress on that part. So, and when you have a quarterback that as talented as Stafford, I think you have to account for a lot of different things, John.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Tim, I just realized we've got to talk about something. It just occurred to me just now.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah, there's a situation going on with Kyler Murray. He completely deleted all his Cardinal stuff from his social media.
So I don't think it's going to be a significant story because I think he just wants to focus on football and I think social media is becoming a pain in the neck to some players, but I don't view that as a story at all. But I thought you were gonna say that Aaron Rodgers won his 4th MVP. No surprise there. But I think going back to the Rams and the Bengals that Natale's been watching football and he knows what it's like to have a quarterback that can throw deep and accurately, and that's what Stafford did. And mind you, the turnovers were an issue, and they were a fair issue to point out during the middle of the season. But man, in the playoffs, it's been Stafford's been tough and clutch, and his ability to make big time throws is a reason why the Rams they've won 3 playoff games.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Kyler Murray, I'm not going to make much about Kyler Murray until I hear some more, but I digress on that one. Let's talk about the other side of the coin. Let's talk about the Bengals here. I mean, like I said, who would have thought it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, 2 years ago,
I'll admit I had them as a last place team when I did the original predictions, but yeah, good to find the odds. As did so many people, and look, I think it also this all stems with the Bengals drafting Joe Burrow with the first pick in the draft in 2020. Yeah, it was strange. I didn't have one position right. The team I had in first finished in last. The team I had last finished first. And the team I had in second and third reversed.
Yeah,
I didn't have one right.
Yeah. I had to say that AFC North was probably the craziest division this year.
Mm-hmm.
So Joe Burrow, if he got the Heisman, got the national championship, he can be the first quarterback in history to get those 2 plus a Super Bowl title.
Yeah, and I think Burrow having that championship pedigree, I think is an advantage that plays to his part because he knows he's fresh off winning the championship. He knows how to trust his players, and granted that was a big reason Joe Burrow being in the room when the Bengals decided to draft Jamar Chase instead of Penny Sewell with their first round pick. Now Sewell would have addressed a major need right away, which we will talk about in a couple of minutes. But having that existing chemistry that stemmed all the way back to college played a significant role. And Jamar Chase made the Bengals better, and he also made the second-year wideout T. Higgins and the veteran Tyler Boyd made them all better in one fell swoop.
Oh yeah. The tight end for the Bengals. What is his status?
It's so CJ Uzomah. So if you recall in the first quarter of the AFC Championship game against Cincinnati, he got hurt. So that there have been questions as to whether or not he'll be able to go on Sunday. He did not practice yesterday, but he did practice in a limited role today. So all signs are indicating that Uzomah is going to play on Sunday.
Yeah.
On the opposite side, Tyler Higbee is questionable.
But I think Sean McVay told the press yesterday that he doesn't seem optimistic that Higbee is going to be ready to go for Sunday.
And how about that Bengal defense? How are they going to stop the combination of Stafford and Cup or OBJ and all them?
Yeah, I think if there's something that hasn't been talked about as much, and I do think there's a couple of things need to be said here. That number one, the Bengals have a couple of impact pass rushers, in Trey Hendrickson, who the Bengals signed to a lofty contract this past off season, and also DJ Reader, who I believe was a third round pick in last year by Cincinnati. So that they have that, but I think the strength of the Cincinnati defense is its secondary, and it all starts with Mike Hilton. So Mike Hilton's going to be covering Cooper Kupp on Sunday, the star corner who went over from the Steelers to the Bengals. But this is where I think the Bengals have a big advantage when it comes to the secondary, because the last time Mike Hilton played against Cooper Kupp, it was 2019. Kupp was with the Rams I believe Jared Goff was the quarterback in that game. It was a game in Pittsburgh, and Kupp was held to 0 receptions. So Mike Hilton knows how to cover Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp is more of a slot receiver, which was what he was originally drafted to be when the Rams originally took him. But having Mike Hilton cover Cooper Kupp is going to have to make it more imperative for Odell Beckham Jr. and Van Jefferson to make big time plays, because if Cooper Kupp is slowed down, Matthew Stafford's going to need someone to step up to the plate, whether it's OBJ, Jefferson, whether his running backs are playable in the passing game, and mind you, the Rams have 3 of them that they're going to use in the game with Cam Akers, who missed much of the season because of his Achilles injury. The Rams are also going to employ Sonny Michel and Darrell Henderson into the game, which I think is going to be a big advantage in this game in favor of the Rams, because I think if I'm Sean McVay, I think you want to employ all 3 of those running backs in some way, shape, or form in the second half of this game, and each of them are bring their own different strengths, and I think it's going to be make it a challenge for Lou Anarumo, the defensive coordinator for Cincinnati, to focus in on one particular running back when the Rams could use all 3. Now, the intention is to use Cam Akers more than Henderson and Michelle, but I think you need to use all 3 to have a great chance to win the Super Bowl.
All right, another story that kind of sticks out to me is the kicker for the Bengals, Evan Money McPherson, and they've been calling him Money for good reason.
It's and the Bengals social media has actually says that's why we draft kickers, which unfortunately is for the haters, it is a legitimate point, and it is an important relevant topics, because when you think of how the Bengals were able to win the division with the amount of wins that they had, they needed 3 game-winning field goals from Evan McPherson. Week 1 against Minnesota, week 4 in that Thursday night game against Jacksonville, and then in week 17 in the regular season matchup when the Chiefs went to Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati, and and he kicked the winning field goal as time expired there, that chip shot, and then in the playoffs he's had 12 field goal attempts. He's made them all.
So he has really come through in the clutch there.
Yeah, and that'll play into the game plans if there's a situation where they'll play into the situation if it's a 3-point game or less, or that you need Evan McPherson to make a field goal. You can give Evan McPherson a long leash, and that'll make it easier and fewer yards needed for Joe Burrow and that offense to pick up in a less than 2-minute situation, either at the end of the first half of the game or in the fourth quarter of regulation.
All right, well, that is our good look at the teams from top to bottom going into this.
Yeah, and I do want to make some there are some other things that I think need to be said. So I think the way the Rams, the construction of the Rams and how they were built from top to bottom, I think that needs to be addressed because if you've been seeing football over the last several years, you saw a lot of teams that simply won drafts, got the young talented teams and focused in house to develop a team like say like Philadelphia. They hit on their draft picks, or Kansas City they hit on that big trade up in 2017 to draft Patrick Mahomes, and then all the supporting members of last year's Tampa championship team, especially on defense, a lot of them were drafted. When you look at Levante David, when you look at Devin White, but this Rams team took a completely different approach, and the Rams, believe it or not, have not had a first-round pick since 2016, when they used the top pick to select Jared Goff. So the Rams traded multiple first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey. They traded multiple first-round picks for Matthew Stafford. They traded they traded their second and third round picks next year because they already traded their first to Denver in order to get in order to get Von Miller. So Les Snead has took a completely different approach from an unconventional approach, but it's been working and utilizing veterans and fitting them perfectly into the Sean McVay culture, and that's why McVay is one of the best coaches out there in the NFL, and he is going to be the coach in the Rams, I think, for a pretty long time. So I think that'll be a full conversation, and then can we also say something, by the way, about Odell Beckham Jr., guys, about how he improved, how he made the offense better with the Robert Woods injury?
Oh yeah. Let's talk about OBJ.
Yeah, and you think of OBJ traded to Cleveland. He never really got a fair share there, and with Baker Mayfield doing all those commercials, that never made sense. But look, the media has been on Odell Beckham Jr.'s case, and this is a great redemption story. But when you look at him from an Odell Beckham Jr. perspective, and nobody knew the ramifications of signing Odell Beckham Jr. because right after he signed with the Rams, that was when Robert Woods went down with his ACL tear, which meant his season was over. So Odell Beckham Jr. comes in. He gets acclimated with the offense rather quickly. He comes up big in the Arizona game on Monday night in December. And then over the course of the time, he's gotten better and better and better. And he had 113 yards receiving in the NFC Championship game. So something needs to be said about Odell Beckham Jr. and why I think he might be an X factor in the Super Bowl on Sunday. And then also, how about the defense? Now, the statistical numbers on defense aren't Super Bowl worthy. So, but when you think about the Rams, what they were last year, they were the #1 defense in the league, and Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and Leonard Floyd. They did add Leonard Floyd in free agency this year, which I've always been high on Leonard Floyd. I loved him in the draft process back in 2015. He was taken with Chicago pick in the top 10 of that year. But the defense was rather inconsistent, but they're playing their best football of the season right now in the playoffs. They did a great job finally figuring out how to stop the Kyle Shanahan, the Shanahan offense in the NFC Championship game, and then Eric Weddle. How about him? Him being relevant in the Super Bowl in 2021. I think that's a story in and of itself. And of course, he spent so many years with San Diego, with then San Diego Chargers for many years, and then with Baltimore in 2016 through 18, and then with the Rams. And I think that's something to be said. And then how about the tight end? So Tyler Higbee is pessimistic about playing with his knee injuries. So the potential tight ends that the Rams will be employing are Kendall Blanton, who caught a touchdown in the Tampa game, and then Bryson Hopkins, who I believe was a 4th round pick by the Rams a couple of years ago. So I think Higbee would make it more comfortable for the Rams, but if Kendall Blanton makes some plays out in the middle of the field, I think the Rams have an excellent chance to win the game on Sunday. Out in the middle of the field.
All right. So with all that being said, and all the talk about the players and how the Rams are great and the Bengals are great, I think it is about time that we go ahead and make our picks. Just to recap, it will be the Los Angeles Rams versus the Cincinnati Bengals, SoFi Stadium, Inglewood, California. The Rams are picked by 3.5, and the over/under is 48.5. So, with all that being said, it's time to make our picks. Flynn, go.
Yes. This was the first time I've been back and forth on my Super Bowl pick for a while now. So, and look, this is the toughest one I've had to pick in the toughest pick in years. For this game, but I think that the thing that I've seen from every championship winning every team that's won the Super Bowl since at least I started watching it, and maybe this is probably been the case the last 45 years. Every single championship caliber team, a championship winning team, has had strong play with the offensive line, and in order to play a complementary brand of football, I think you need to be able to block well, enable to give your quarterback time in the pocket. And so I think for when you look at most of these rosters, I think they're pretty even. When you look at the quarterbacks, when you look at the defenses, and when you look at the playmakers. But I think the Rams' offensive line, I think the running back is going to have a combined 150 yards rushing and at least 2 rushing touchdowns. And I think this is going to be a tremendous football game. And the Rams doing stuff early in the second half, I think, is going to be a big difference in this game. And then the defense will winning at the end, holding off a miraculous comeback attempt by the Bengals. I'm going to take Matthew Stafford. In the 2021 NFL Man of the Year, Andrew Whitworth, it was just announced. And I'm going to take, in a thriller, Rams 31, Bengals 28, and Matthew Stafford is my Super Bowl MVP.
So what was that again? Let me get that down. You're going with the Rams by score.
Yep.
What?
Rams 31-28, with Matthew Stafford being the Super Bowl MVP.
going to take a note of that. That sounds like a pretty good pick for Flynn there. 31-28. He is taking the Rams. Natalie, your big pick for
this
now. What do you say?
Yeah, this is the one game that has really stumped me. This is definitely one Super Bowl that nobody ever expected. I mean, I could kind of see it going either way. And got to give a lot of credit to Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. They went to the Super Bowl very quickly, 1 year and 2 years respectively. And on the Rams side, you got Matt Stafford also in his first Super Bowl, Cooper Kupp, pretty much almost the entire team in their first Super Bowl as well. So this makes things very interesting. And you got the two tight ends that can go either way. The Rams have a home field advantage too, which is a plus, but that's going to be irrelevant as far as who I'm picking. After weighing out every position, I did come to a determination. Although I am a firm believer of the Cinderella story, I think Cincinnati's run in the sun is going to end here. They're going to play a great game, but LA is going to do slightly better. And I have an interesting choice for the MVP. I'm not going to go the traditional quarterback route. That's boring. I'm going to make it with a score of 34-26. My MVP will be Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to get a couple touchdowns. He's going to have a monster game on the offensive side. Might not be the most sexy pick, but I like to make it interesting now. Pick somebody different than a quarterback to be MVP. So yeah, give me the Rams to win the Super Bowl. Cooper Kupp is your MVP.
All right. So we got Natalie picking the Rams to win 34-26, and Cooper Kupp is his selection for MVP. It's on you now, Nick.
Oh boy. It's getting real interesting, folks. So, I mean, if I had to, it's alright. If I win with on this team right now, and if I give me advice to people that I root over this thing, but you know what? Oh boy. I can't believe how to say it. It's a good story. So, my mom is rooting for Cincinnati. My dad is rooting for the Rams. And, well, I don't know how to say this, but go to Cincinnati.
What's that, bro?
Go to Cincinnati.
He's picking the Bengals.
He's taking the Bengals. Wow.
Yeah, and interesting. So. Yes, so I'm actually doing I did a poll on my Instagram story for my podcast tomorrow. So before you give you my pick, so 59% of my followers on Instagram are picking the Cincinnati Bengals, while only 41% are picking the Rams.
Is that out of how many people?
Like 40 people.
Oh.
So, we got Flynn with the Rams. We got Natalie with the Rams. We got Nick picking the Bengals. Boy, I really love the fact that this Joe Burrow has really come back from that big injury, and of course earlier this evening he won Comeback Player of the Year, and rightfully so. Congratulations. But I guess I'm what you would call a sentimentalist. With all those 12 years in Detroit. Just going absolutely nowhere because of poor management, poor coaching, poor players. And then all of a sudden he gets traded to the Rams. And oh my goodness, all these players that he has with them. I mean, we're talking about top-notch superstars right here. I am going to go ahead and make my pick. Matthew Stafford climbing the ladder to the top. He is going to make it. I think Joe Burrow in the future, he may win a Super Bowl with the Bengals, but I just don't quite see it happening here. I am taking the Los Angeles Rams to beat the Cincinnati Bengals by a score of 30-24. And just like Flynn, my MVP will be Matthew Stafford. So
now watch the Bengals win now. Because remember that 2 weeks ago, I'm the only one that picked the Bengals and they won. This time, Nick is the only one who picks the Bengals.
Oh boy. So, how's that going to come out? I do not know.
Yeah.
But hopefully all of you out there that are watching this right now, I want to know what your picks are. Who do you think's going to win? Who do you think is going to be the final score? And who do you select as the MVP? I want to see some comments down here. Go ahead and make your picks and see if you agree with us here. And I believe with that, I think we can put a bow on this thing and get ourselves ready for the big game. Now, I'm going to have to be working at my job. This is my Sunday to work, but I only work 5 hours and I work every third Sunday. But at least I'll be getting off work just in time to get home, get ready for the kickoff, and get ready for this big game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as far as party is concerned, I don't know if I'm going to have a party here at my house. I may just order pizza, maybe a 6-pack of Bud. Just enjoy the game here. You guys got any plans?
Not particularly, bro. I just got my food in the freezer. Chicken wings, potato skins. That's what I was picking.
Because I'll be picking up my food between tomorrow and Saturday.
Oh, okay. And of course, earlier we saw Nick with that big old screen right there, so he'll definitely be enjoying that game. So I hope all of you will enjoy the game. Now we know there's going to be a lot of hip hop stars performing halftime.
Let's see.
I can't remember. I think Eminem is one of them. And by the way, I should say Eminem is leading the fan vote for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Which kind of disgusts me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if I had it my way for the top 3 for the votes for Hall of Fame, I'd say Pat Benatar, Duran Duran, and Lionel Richie. But I digress. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap this baby up. We're going to get prepared for the big game on Sunday. Rams, Bengals. Sunday, it will be NBC, and I believe this may be Al Michaels' final broadcast.
On NBC, I possibly, and I think it's gonna be Michelle Tafoya's last game. Michelle Tafoya, I think, is retiring at the end of the season.
Oh, she's put in a lot of great years. I mean, I got a lot of respect for these women who have been reporting on sports for so many years. Michelle Tafoya is one of them. I tip my hat to her. And let's go ahead and wrap this baby up. Flynn, hey, don't worry. Hey, I see all this information that Flynn has. See, that is why y'all need to listen to Hooked on Sports. I got some links in the description area below. Click on any one of them. You'll go straight to the source himself, Mr. John Flynn. John, good having you, buddy.
Thank you for having me on, Tim.
All right,
Oh.
John Natale, our commissioner.
Thank-
Thank you. Nick Dennison, always the quiet type, but hey, we love the guy anyway. Love you, brother.
Oh yeah. Love you.
All right. Our season finale will be next week. Next week, we will recap Super Bowl 56 and we will kind of forecast into 2022 what we could be expecting in the league for next season. But that's going to be for next week because right now we are all out of time. So for my friends, John Flynn, John Natale, Nicholas Dennison, I'm Tim McClellan. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the game, everybody. God bless you. And as always, be a good sport. See ya.
15 seconds to air. Stand by, all cameras.
Ready with slow motion and isolated cameras.
Stand by, videotape, and rotate.
And tape is rolling in less than 5, in 3, 2, 1.
Take tape.